Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the golden chambers of ancient Alexandria, where the morning sun filters through silk curtains and catches the gleam of polished bronze mirrors. You can almost smell the frankincense burning in ornate censers, hear the gentle splash of rose-scented water being poured into marble basins, and feel the cool limestone floors beneath bare feet as servants move with practiced silence through corridors lined with precious stones. The year is 48 BCE, and you're about to witness the most elaborate morning routine in human history, one so ridiculously detailed and time-consuming that you probably won't survive the first hour without falling asleep. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments below. I love seeing where in the world you're listening from as you drift off to sleep. Now let's find that cozy spot, pull a blanket around you, and gently drift into tonight's calm adventure. You find yourself standing in the pre-dawn darkness of the royal palace at Alexandria, the Mediterranean breeze carrying the scent of jasmine through open windows as the last stars fade into the approaching dawn. The marble floors are cool beneath your feet, polished to such perfection that they reflect the flickering oil lamps like still water. You're witnessing something that few mortals ever saw: the private morning ritual of Cleopatra Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, as she prepares to face another day of ruling one of the most powerful empires in the ancient world. The process begins at precisely 4 in the morning, not because Cleopatra is an early riser by nature, but because the elaborate transformation from sleeping queen to divine pharaoh requires every minute of those 3 hours. You watch as her personal attendant, a woman named Eros, who has served the royal family for decades, approaches the queen's sleeping chamber with the reverence of a priest entering a temple. The bedchamber itself is a marvel of luxury that would make modern billionaires weep with envy. Walls covered in sheets of gold leaf that catch and amplify even the faintest light. Floors inlaid with precious stones arranged in intricate patterns that tell the stories of Egypt's gods, and a bed carved from a single piece of ebony and draped with silk so fine it seems to float like morning mist. Cleopatra sleeps on sheets of the finest linen, woven so delicately that each thread is thinner than a human hair, dyed with Tyrian purple that costs more per ounce than gold. The dye comes from thousands of murex shells, harvested from the depths of the Mediterranean and processed in a method so labor-intensive that a single bolt of this fabric represents the work of hundreds of people over many months. You can see how the fabric moves like liquid as Iris carefully adjusts the coverings, ensuring that her queen remains comfortable even as the preparations for the day begin around her. The awakening process itself is an art form that would put modern spas to shame. Iris doesn't simply shake Cleopatra awake or call her name. Instead, she begins by lighting specific incense blends, calculated to gently rouse the senses. The first blend contains frankincense from the land of Punt, myrrh from the Arabian Peninsula, and a touch of saffron from the highest peaks of Kashmir. The smoke carries not just fragrance, but meaning, as each ingredient has been blessed by priests and chosen for its supposed ability to clear the mind and prepare the soul for the divine responsibilities of rulership. As the incense fills the air, you watch Eros approach a series of bronze bowls filled with different substances, some containing oils, others holding what appear to be various powders and liquids. She begins to play what can only be described as a morning symphony, using small silver bells tuned to specific frequencies that the royal physicians believe promote mental clarity and physical well-being. The sound is so gentle that it seems to emerge from the air itself, like the distant memory of temple chimes carried on the wind. Cleopatra stirs slowly, her movements graceful even in sleep. You observe how she doesn't jolt awake like ordinary mortals, but instead seems to float gradually into consciousness, as if rising from deep water towards sunlight. Her first conscious act is not to speak or move dramatically, but to extend her right hand palm up, a gesture that Iris has been waiting for. Into this outstretched palm, the attendant places a small silver cup containing what appears to be water, but which you soon realize is something far more exotic. This morning elixir is a blend that would fascinate modern nutritionists and horrify modern doctors in equal measure. The base is water that has been drawn from the Nile at a specific location, not just anywhere along the Great River, but from a sacred spring near the Temple of Isis at Philae. Water that has been transported to Alexandria in sealed vessels and blessed by priests at every step of the journey. To this sacred water, the royal physicians have added drops of liquid gold, actual gold dissolved in various acids, and combined with honey from bees that feed exclusively on lotus blossoms. The process of creating this morning drink is so complex that it requires a dedicated team of specialists working throughout the night. First, the Nile water must be filtered through layers of the finest silk and then boiled with specific herbs, chamomile grown in the temple gardens, mint from the oasis of Siwa, and rose petals that have been dried under the light of a full moon. After cooling, the liquid gold is added drop by drop while trained musicians play specific melodies believed to harmonize the mixture at a molecular level. Finally, just before serving, a single pearl is dissolved into the drink using vinegar so strong that it can dissolve precious stones in minutes. You watch as Cleopatra sips this extraordinary concoction slowly, savoring each drop, while Iras begins the next phase of the morning routine. The attendant moves to what appears to be a marble altar, but is actually an elaborate wash basin, carved from a single block of pink granite, quarried from the cataracts of Aswan and transported down the Nile on special barges designed specifically for moving temple-quality stone. The basin is filled not with ordinary water, but with what the ancient Egyptians called the tears of Ra, water that has been infused with gold dust and blessed at sunrise on the temple roof. The washing ritual that follows is nothing like the quick shower modern people might take before starting their day. Instead, it's a ceremonial cleansing that combines religious devotion, medical treatment, and aesthetic preparation into a single elaborate process. Iras begins by testing the temperature of the various waters, using a method that involves dropping small silver discs into each basin. The metal conducts heat so precisely that an experienced attendant can judge temperature to within degrees simply by how quickly the discs warm up. The first washing involves what appears to be ordinary soap, but is actually a mixture that would cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. The base is made from the ash of desert plants that grow only in the deepest parts of the Sahara, combined with oils pressed from nuts that grow on trees so rare that each one is guarded by dedicated priests. The soap also contains powdered lapis lazuli, ground so fine that it creates a blue tint in the water, and microscopic particles of gold that are supposed to strengthen the skin and create a subtle luminous effect. As Cleopatra steps into the first basin, you notice that even this simple act is choreographed with religious precision. She must enter with her right foot first, facing east toward the rising sun, while Iras recites prayers in the ancient Egyptian language that date back thousands of years to the time of the pyramid builders. The water itself has been perfumed with essences that tell the story of Egypt's empire. Jasmine from the gardens of Memphis, cedar oil from the forests of Lebanon, cinnamon from the mysterious lands beyond the Red Sea, and ambergris from creatures that live in the deepest parts of the Indian Ocean. The washing process involves 7 different types of water, each serving a specific purpose that combines practical hygiene with mystical belief. After the initial cleansing, Cleopatra moves to a second basin filled with water that has been boiled with specific herbs chosen for their supposed ability to maintain youthful skin. This water contains extracts from aloe plants grown in the royal gardens, milk from goats that graze on mountain herbs, and oils from fish that swim only in the deepest parts of the Mediterranean. You observe the meticulous care with which Iras applies each treatment, using cloths made from silk, so fine that they feel like air against the skin. The movements are slow and deliberate, designed not just to clean, but to massage specific pressure points that ancient Egyptian medicine believed controlled everything, from mood to digestion. Every gesture follows patterns that have been passed down through generations of royal attendants, refined over centuries into a form of performance art that combines the practical with the sacred. The third basin contains what the Egyptians called the blood of Isis, water tinted red with crushed cinnabar and mixed with oils that have been aged for decades in underground chambers beneath the great temple of Ptah. This water is believed to have the power to preserve youth and beauty, and modern analysis would probably reveal that it contains mercury compounds that would horrify contemporary toxicologists. But in Cleopatra's time, these substances are considered essential for maintaining the divine nature that pharaohs are believed to possess. As the washing continues, you become aware of the incredible complexity of even the simplest aspects of royal life in ancient Egypt. The towels used to dry Cleopatra are not simple cloth, but rather sheets of the finest linen that have been woven by blind monks who spend their entire lives perfecting a single type of fabric. The threads are so fine that each towel takes months to complete, and the weaving process is considered a form of meditation that imbues the fabric with spiritual properties. The fourth basin contains water that has been blessed by priests of Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, mixed with ink made from octopus caught in the deepest parts of the Red Sea. This washing is supposed to enhance mental clarity and prepare the mind for the complex decisions that ruling an empire requires. The water has a slightly blue tint from the dissolved ink, and as Cleopatra bathes in it, you can almost see her becoming more alert and focused, as if the ritual itself is having a genuine psychological effect. Basin 5 holds water perfumed with essence of lotus, the sacred flower that represents rebirth and eternal life in Egyptian mythology. The lotus oil has been extracted using a process that takes an entire season. The flowers must be picked at dawn, pressed within hours of harvesting, and the resulting oil aged in chambers buried beneath the temple of Hathor. The water also contains dissolved pearls, ground by temple priestesses using mortars made from meteorite stone, creating a mixture that shimmers with an otherworldly light. The sixth washing involves water that has been infused with powdered malachite, the green stone sacred to the goddess Isis, combined with oils from trees that grow only in the legendary kingdom of Punt. This water is supposed to connect the pharaoh with the divine forces that govern the natural world, and as Cleopatra bathes in it, Iras recites prayers that invoke the protection of every major deity in the Egyptian pantheon. The green tint of the water creates an ethereal effect in the lamplight, making Cleopatra appear almost supernatural as she moves through the ritual. The final basin contains the most precious water of all, liquid that has been collected from the first rain to fall on the Temple of Ra at Heliopolis each year, mixed with water drawn from the sacred well at the Temple of Ammon at Thebes. This water is clear as crystal, but somehow seems to glow with its own inner light, an effect created by microscopic particles of ground crystal that have been blessed and consecrated by the highest priests in Egypt. This final washing is supposed to complete the transformation from mortal woman to divine pharaoh, and you can almost feel the weight of centuries of tradition and belief surrounding this ancient ritual. After the bathing ceremonies conclude, which has taken nearly an hour, the equally elaborate process of drying and preparing the skin begins. Cleopatra doesn't simply step out of the final basin and towel off. Instead, she's guided to what appears to be a marble throne, but is actually a drying station designed specifically for this purpose. The seat is carved from a single piece of white marble, quarried from the finest deposits in Paros, the same stone used for the greatest Greek sculptures, and has been polished until it gleams like glass. The drying process involves different types of cloths applied in a specific sequence, each one softer and more expensive than the last. The first cloths are made from cotton, grown in the upper reaches of the Nile, where the desert heat and river moisture create fibers of exceptional length and softness. These cloths have been treated with oils and essences that help them absorb moisture while simultaneously conditioning the skin with vitamins and minerals that ancient Egyptian medicine believed were essential for health and beauty. As Iris works, you notice that she's not simply drying Cleopatra's skin, but applying specific oils and treatments to different parts of the body. Her her arms receive a mixture of myrrh and frankincense oil that's been aged for 7 years in cedar containers, buried in the desert sand. Her legs are treated with oils pressed from nuts that grow on trees found only in the mountains of Lebanon, combined with essences extracted from flowers that bloom just once per year during the flooding of the Nile. The most elaborate treatment is reserved for Cleopatra's face and neck, which receive a complex mixture that represents the pinnacle of ancient Egyptian cosmetic science. The base oil comes from olives grown in groves that are over 1,000 years old, trees that were already ancient when the Great Pyramids were built. To this oil, master perfumers have added essences that would make modern aromatherapists weep with envy. Rose oil from petals that have been dried under starlight. Jasmine essence extracted using techniques that take months to complete. And lotus oil, so pure that a single drop can perfume an entire room. But the most extraordinary ingredient in this facial treatment is something that modern people would find almost impossible to believe: oil extracted from the brain tissue of specially prepared crocodiles. These creatures are not hunted randomly, but are instead raised in sacred pools within temple complexes, fed specific diets that include precious herbs and blessed foods, and their brain oil is extracted using religious ceremonies that combine the practical with the mystical. Ancient Egyptian medicine believed that this oil contained the essence of the crocodile's strength and cunning, qualities essential for any successful ruler. As these oils are massaged into her skin, using techniques that have been refined over thousands of years, Cleopatra begins the second major phase of her morning routine, the elaborate process of hair preparation. Her hair, which reaches nearly to her waist when unbound, represents hours of careful cultivation and maintenance that continues even while she sleeps. The servants responsible for her hair work in shifts throughout the night, applying treatments and maintaining moisture levels to ensure that each morning begins with hair in perfect condition. The hair washing process alone would exhaust modern people who think a 20-minute shower is luxurious. Cleopatra's hair is first wetted with water that has been infused with herbs designed to strengthen the roots and enhance natural color. The water contains extracts from henna plants grown in the oasis of the western desert, combined with oils from plants that grow only in the mysterious lands beyond the third cataract of the Nile. The shampoo, though ancient Egyptians wouldn't have used that word, is a mixture that would fascinate modern chemists. The base is made from saponins extracted from plants that grow in the marshes of the Nile Delta, combined with oils and essences that serve multiple purposes. Myrrh oil prevents scalp infections and adds shine, while frankincense oil is believed to stimulate hair growth and enhance mental clarity. The mixture also contains powdered gold, which creates subtle highlights when it catches the light, and ground pearls, which are supposed to strengthen individual hair strands. The washing process involves multiple rounds of application and rinsing, each one using water of different temperatures and different herbal preparations. The first wash uses water hot enough to open the hair follicles and remove accumulated oils and dust. The second wash uses cooler water infused with vinegar made from grapes grown in the royal vineyards, which is supposed to close the hair follicles and lock in moisture. The third and final wash uses water that's barely warm, mixed with rose water and oils that leave the hair soft and manageable. But the most time-consuming part of the hair routine is the drying and styling process, which can take up to 90 minutes, depending on the complexity of the day's intended hairstyle. Cleopatra doesn't simply let her hair air dry or use heated tools. Instead, her hair is dried using a combination of techniques that preserve its natural texture while creating specific effects. The drying process begins with the application of oils and treatments designed to protect the hair from damage while creating the desired texture and appearance. Different sections of hair receive different treatments. The hair at the crown of her head is treated with oils that add volume and body, while the lengths receive treatments designed to enhance shine and prevent tangling. The most delicate sections around her face and neck receive special attention with oils and essences that are applied strand by strand. The actual drying is accomplished using a combination of natural air circulation, and carefully controlled heat from bronze mirrors, positioned to reflect sunlight or lamplight at specific angles. The servants responsible for this process have trained for years to understand exactly how much heat to apply and for how long, as too much heat can damage the hair while too little leaves it damp and difficult to style. As the hair dries, other servants begin preparing the tools and materials needed for styling. The combs used on royal hair are not simple objects, but rather works of art, carved from ivory, tortoiseshell, and precious metals. Each comb is designed for a specific purpose. Wide-tooth combs, made from elephant ivory for initial detangling. Fine-tooth combs, carved from tortoiseshell for creating smooth sections. And tiny combs made from gold for working with the most delicate areas around the hairline. The styling products available to Cleopatra would make modern hair professionals envious, despite being created thousands of years before the invention of chemical hair treatments. Ancient Egyptian hair preparers had access to natural substances that created effects remarkably similar to modern hair products. Tree resins provided hold without stiffness, beeswax created texture and separation, and various plant oils added shine and manageability. One of the most prized styling products was a substance called the tears of the sun god, a golden resin extracted from trees that grow only in the hottest parts of the Nubian desert. This resin, when mixed with specific oils and heated to precise temperatures, creates a hair treatment that adds incredible shine while providing flexible hold that lasts all day. The process of preparing this substance is so complex that it requires the attention of master craftsmen who spend their entire careers perfecting the technique. The hairstyling itself follows patterns that are both aesthetically pleasing and symbolically meaningful. Every twist, braid, and curl has significance in Egyptian religious and political tradition. The style chosen for any particular day depends on Cleopatra's schedule. Diplomatic meetings require hairstyles that emphasize her divine authority, while religious ceremonies call for styles that honor specific deities. Today's hairstyle, you observe, is designed for a day that will include both administrative duties and a public appearance at a temple ceremony. The basic structure involves dividing the hair into sections that represent the different regions of Egypt, the Delta, Middle Egypt, and Upper Egypt, with each section styled differently to symbolize the unity of the kingdom under Pharaoh's rule. The process begins with the creation of a foundation using hair pieces made from imported silk and human hair obtained from willing donors throughout the empire. These pieces are not simply attached randomly, but are integrated into Cleopatra's natural hair using techniques that make the additions invisible while creating volume and length that would be impossible to achieve with natural hair alone. The main section of hair, representing Upper Egypt, is braided using a technique that creates a pattern resembling the hieroglyph for unity. This braid is then coiled and secured with pins made from gold and decorated with tiny gems that catch and reflect light with every movement. The hair representing the Delta region is styled into loose waves that flow like the branches of the Nile, while the section representing Middle Egypt is twisted into spirals that echo the curves of the sacred serpent. But perhaps the most elaborate part of the hairstyling process is the integration of decorative elements that transform the hair into a living crown. Gold threads, finer than human hair, are woven throughout the braids, creating patterns that tell stories from Egyptian mythology. Tiny pearls are attached at specific points to represent stars in the sky, while small gems mark the positions of important temples throughout the kingdom. The final touch is the application of what ancient Egyptians called divine dust, a mixture of powdered gold, ground gems, and pulverized precious stones that creates an ethereal glow around Cleopatra's head. This dust is applied so carefully that it seems to emanate from within the hair itself, creating an effect that reinforces the belief that pharaohs are divine beings who carry the light of the gods within themselves. As the hairstyling nears completion, attention turns to the most complex and time-consuming part of the entire morning routine, the application of makeup and cosmetics. Ancient Egyptian cosmetics were not simply about enhancing beauty, but were believed to provide protection from evil spirits, connection with divine forces, and practical benefits like protection from the harsh desert sun. The makeup application begins with the preparation of the face, using treatments that serve as both skincare and spiritual preparation. The first step involves the application of a base treatment made from ground pearls mixed with oils that have been blessed by priests of Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty. This treatment is supposed to create a perfect surface for the application of additional cosmetics while providing spiritual protection throughout the day. The pearls used in this treatment are not ordinary pearls, but rather specimens that have been selected for their perfect roundness and lustrous quality, then ground using mortars made from meteorite stone and blessed with prayers that invoke the protection of celestial forces. The grinding process takes place in temple chambers lit only by oil lamps that burn oils extracted from plants that bloom only under starlight. The base oil for this treatment comes from nuts that grow on trees, found only in the mysterious kingdom of Punt, a land so distant and exotic that most Egyptians consider it to be almost mythical. The oil extraction process involves techniques that are closely guarded secrets, passed down through generations of specialists who dedicate their entire lives to perfecting this single substance. After the base treatment has been applied and allowed to absorb into the skin, the process of applying colored cosmetics begins. The first color applied is always black, in honor of the fertile soil of the Nile that makes Egyptian civilization possible. But this is not ordinary black pigment. It's made from antimony ore that has been mined from specific deposits in the eastern desert, ground to powder so fine that individual particles are invisible to the naked eye, and mixed with oils and resins that help it adhere to the skin while providing medicinal benefits. The antimony serves multiple purposes beyond simple decoration. It protects the eyes from the harsh glare of the desert sun, prevents certain types of eye infections that are common in hot climates, and creates the distinctive elongated eye shape that ancient Egyptians considered the height of beauty. The application process requires incredible skill, as the lines must be perfectly symmetrical and precisely placed to create the desired effect. The tools used for applying eye makeup are works of art in themselves. Tiny brushes made from the finest animal hair, applicators carved from ivory and precious stones, and mixing palettes made from materials so exotic that they're worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. Each tool is designed for a specific purpose, and master makeup artists train for decades to achieve the level of skill required to work on royal faces. The black eye paint is applied in layers, with each layer allowed to dry completely before the next is added. The process creates depth and intensity that seems almost supernatural in the lamplight, making Cleopatra's eyes appear larger and more luminous than seems humanly possible. The final layer includes microscopic particles of gold and silver that create subtle sparkles when they catch the light. After the black base has been completed, green pigments are applied to create highlights and accents that honor Malachite, the goddess of rebirth and eternal life. The green paint is made from actual malachite stone, ground to powder, and mixed with oils that help it adhere to the skin while maintaining its vibrant color. The malachite comes from mines in the Sinai Peninsula, where it's extracted using techniques that combine practical mining with religious ceremony. The application of green pigments requires even greater skill than the black, as the colors must be blended seamlessly to create effects that enhance the natural contours of the eyes while creating symbolic patterns that tell stories from Egyptian mythology. Different shades of green are used to represent different aspects of the natural world: the deep green of Nile vegetation, the lighter green of new growth, and the blue-green of certain precious stones that are believed to contain divine power. Blue pigments, made from lapis lazuli, imported from the distant mountains of Afghanistan, are used to create accents that represent the sky and the celestial realm where the gods dwell. The lapis lazuli is ground using techniques that preserve the stone's natural luminosity while creating pigment fine enough for detailed work around the eyes. The grinding process takes place in temple workshops, where specially trained artisans work by candlelight to create pigments that seem to glow with their own inner fire. The application of lip color involves pigments made from red ochre, mixed with oils and waxes that create colors ranging from subtle rose tones to deep crimson. The red ochre comes from specific deposits in the Western Desert, where it's extracted using ceremonies that honor Seth, the god of the desert and storms. The pigment is processed using techniques that enhance its natural color, while creating textures that remain vibrant throughout long days of public appearances and ceremonial duties. But perhaps the most exotic cosmetic treatment involves the application of gold leaf to specific areas of the face and body. Pure gold, beaten into sheets so thin they're almost transparent, is carefully applied to create accents that catch and reflect light with every movement. The gold leaf application requires incredible skill, as the material is so delicate that it can be destroyed by a careless breath or the slightest tremor in the hand. The gold leaf is applied using brushes made from the finest sable hair, each brush containing only a few dozen individual hairs that have been selected for their perfect flexibility and resilience. The application process involves first treating the skin with special adhesives made from tree saps and plant resins that hold the gold in place while allowing it to move naturally with facial expressions. Different patterns of gold application carry different symbolic meanings. Gold applied to the forehead represents connection with Ra, the sun god, while gold around the eyes symbolizes the divine vision that allows pharaohs to see truth and make wise decisions. Gold applied to the lips represents the power of divine speech, the ability to speak words that carry the authority of the gods themselves. As the cosmetic application nears completion, attention turns to the selection and application of jewelry that will complete Cleopatra's transformation from sleeping mortal to divine ruler. The jewelry available to the last pharaoh of Egypt represents the accumulated wealth and artistic achievement of one of history's greatest civilizations, pieces that combine precious materials with craftsmanship so skilled that modern jewelers struggle to understand how such effects were achieved using ancient tools. The first pieces applied are always protective amulets that serve spiritual purposes as much as decorative ones. These include small golden figures of Egyptian gods and goddesses, each one carved with microscopic precision and blessed by priests in ceremonies that can take days to complete. The amulets are attached to nearly invisible chains made from gold wire so fine that it seems like golden thread, creating the impression that the protective figures are floating around Cleopatra's neck and wrists. The selection of earrings involves choosing from hundreds of pairs, each one designed for specific occasions and symbolic purposes. Today's choice includes earrings made from pearls, so perfectly matched that they seem like twins, separated at birth, set in gold that has been worked into patterns representing the lotus flower, symbol of rebirth and eternal life. The pearls themselves come from oysters that live in the deepest parts of the Red Sea, harvested by divers who risk their lives to obtain specimens perfect enough for royal use. The necklaces layered around Cleopatra's neck tell the story of Egypt's wealth and far-reaching trade connections. The innermost necklace is made from gold beads alternating with lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, while the next layer combines pearls from the Red Sea with amber from the mysterious northern lands beyond the Mediterranean. The outermost necklace is the most spectacular, a collar of gold and precious stones that represents a map of the known world, with each stone marking a different kingdom or region that acknowledges Egyptian authority. But the most impressive piece of jewelry is the crown that will complete Cleopatra's transformation. This is not a simple golden circlet, but rather a complex construction that combines metalwork, gem setting, and religious symbolism into a single overwhelming statement of divine authority. The crown includes representations of both Upper and Lower Egypt, with the cobra of Lower Egypt and the vulture of Upper Egypt worked in gold and set with gems that catch and amplify light from every possible source. The The crown's construction involves techniques that modern jewelers find almost impossible to duplicate. Gold work so fine that individual details can only be seen with magnification, gem settings that hold precious stones without visible means of support, and moving parts that create subtle animations as the wearer moves. The cobra's eyes are made from rubies that seem to glow with inner fire, while the vulture's feathers are represented by microscopic gold work that creates the illusion of actual plumage. As the crown is carefully positioned on Cleopatra's elaborately styled hair, you become aware that the 3-hour transformation is finally nearing completion. But even now, in these final moments, the process continues with the application of perfumes and scents that will surround her with invisible clouds of fragrance throughout the day. Ancient Egyptian perfumes were not simple fragrances, but rather complex compositions that combined pleasant scents with practical benefits and spiritual significance. The base of today's perfume blend includes frankincense and myrrh, the two most sacred scents in Egyptian religion, combined in proportions that have been calculated by master perfumers to create specific psychological and spiritual effects. To this base, additional scents are added in layers, each one chosen for its particular properties and symbolic meaning. Rose oil represents love and beauty. Jasmine symbolizes divine grace, and lotus essence connects the wearer with the cycles of death and rebirth that govern all life. Cedar oil provides protection from evil influences, while cinnamon represents the wealth and power that come from controlling trade routes spanning continents. The most exotic ingredient in today's perfume blend is ambergris, a substance so rare and valuable that small quantities are worth more than their weight in gold. Ambergris comes from whales that live in the deepest parts of the Indian Ocean, and the process of obtaining and preparing it for use in royal perfumes involves trade expeditions that can take years to complete. The perfume application process involves treating different parts of the body with different scent combinations, creating a complex olfactory experience that changes throughout the day as body heat and air circulation cause different notes to emerge and fade. Pulse points receive the strongest concentrations, while larger areas of skin are treated with lighter applications that create subtle background fragrances. The final step in the perfume application involves the use of what ancient Egyptians called scent crystals, small pieces of specially prepared resins and aromatics that are sewn into the clothing and jewelry, providing continuous fragrance release throughout the day. These crystals are prepared using techniques that combine chemistry with religious ceremony, creating substances that maintain their potency for weeks or even months. As the last drops of perfume are applied and the final jewelry adjustments are made, Cleopatra's 3-hour morning transformation reaches its completion. The woman who arose from silk sheets in the pre-dawn darkness has been transformed into something that transcends ordinary humanity, a figure who combines divine authority with earthly beauty, ancient tradition with imperial power. The completed look represents not just personal grooming, but rather a carefully constructed statement about the nature of pharaonic authority and the relationship between mortal rulers and divine forces. Every element, from the positioning of individual jewels to the precise application of cosmetic pigments, has been chosen and applied according to traditions that stretch back thousands of years to the very beginnings of Egyptian civilization. You observe that even the way Cleopatra moves has changed during the transformation process. The relaxed, natural movements of sleep have been replaced by the measured, deliberate gestures appropriate to someone who represents divine authority on earth. Each step, each turn of the head, each gesture of the hands has been refined through years of training to create maximum visual and psychological impact. The servants who have participated in this 3-hour ritual now step back to admire their work, but their day is far from over. Even as Cleopatra prepares to begin her royal duties, teams of specialists are already beginning preparations for the evening routine that will reverse this morning's transformation, removing the makeup and jewelry while preparing the queen's skin and hair for another night of restorative treatments. The economic impact of this daily routine is staggering by any historical standard. The cost of the materials consumed in a single morning's preparation, The oils, perfumes, cosmetics, and treatments exceeds the annual income of entire towns. The labor involved includes not just the direct participants, but also the countless workers who produce, transport, and prepare all the exotic substances and precious materials required. The political implications are equally significant. This elaborate morning routine serves multiple purposes beyond personal grooming. It reinforces the divine nature of pharaonic authority, demonstrates Egypt's wealth and sophistication to foreign dignitaries, and provides employment for hundreds of specialists whose livelihoods depend on maintaining royal luxury at the highest possible level. As you witness the completion of this extraordinary transformation, you begin to understand why ancient historians describe Cleopatra as one of the most captivating figures of her era. The 3 hours spent each morning created not just beauty, but rather a complete artistic and political statement that combined personal charisma with the accumulated cultural achievements of one of history's greatest civilizations. The morning routine also represents a form of psychological preparation that modern leaders might envy. The 3 hours of ritualized preparation create a mental transition from private person to public figure, allowing Cleopatra to assume the psychological as well as physical aspects of divine rulership. Every element of the routine reinforces her sense of authority and divine connection, preparing her mentally for the challenges of ruling an empire that spans 3 continents. But perhaps most remarkably, this elaborate morning routine represents just the beginning of Cleopatra's day. The 3 hours of preparation are followed by 12 to 14 hours of royal duties that include administrative meetings, diplomatic negotiations, religious ceremonies, public appearances, and military planning. The morning routine provides the physical and psychological foundation for a daily schedule that would exhaust most modern executives. The cultural impact of these morning routines extends far beyond the palace walls. Fashion and beauty trends throughout the Mediterranean world are influenced by reports and descriptions of royal appearance, creating demand for Egyptian cosmetics, perfumes, and jewelry throughout the known world. The economic effects ripple through trade networks that connect Egypt with kingdoms and empires from Britain to India. As the 3-hour transformation finally concludes and Cleopatra prepares to begin her royal duties, you become aware of the incredible complexity and sophistication of ancient Egyptian civilization. This morning routine represents just one small aspect of a culture that achieved levels of luxury and refinement that wouldn't be matched again for more than 1,000 years after the fall of the pharaohs. The scientific knowledge required to create the cosmetics, perfumes, and treatments used in this routine represents the accumulated research and experimentation of countless generations of Egyptian scientists, physicians, and craftsmen. Many of the techniques and formulations used in Cleopatra's morning routine contain secrets that modern chemists and cosmetologists are still trying to understand and replicate. The preservation methods used to maintain the oils and essences demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of chemistry that wouldn't be formally recognized by European science for another 1,500 years. The Egyptians understood how to prevent oxidation, control bacterial growth, and maintain the potency of volatile compounds using techniques that combined practical knowledge with religious ritual. The medical knowledge embedded in the morning routine is equally impressive. The selection of specific oils and treatments for different parts of the body reflects an understanding of anatomy and physiology that was remarkably advanced for its time. Ancient Egyptian physicians understood the connection between external treatments and internal health, using the morning routine as both cosmetic enhancement and preventive medicine. The psychological sophistication of the routine is perhaps even more remarkable than its technical complexity. The 3-hour transformation serves as a form of meditation and mental preparation that helps Cleopatra assume the psychological burden of absolute authority. Each step in the process reinforces her sense of divine connection and royal responsibility, creating a mental state appropriate for making decisions that affect millions of people. The artistic achievement represented by the morning routine rivals the greatest works of sculpture and painting produced by ancient civilizations. The coordination of colors, textures, scents, and visual effects, creates a total sensory experience that transforms not just Cleopatra's appearance, but the entire atmosphere around her. The completed look represents a form of living art that changes and evolves throughout the day, as light conditions change and the various treatments interact with her body's natural processes. As you observe the final adjustments being made to jewelry and makeup, you notice that even these last-minute touches follow precise protocols developed over centuries of royal tradition. Nothing is left to chance or personal preference. Every element has been calculated to create maximum impact while maintaining the symbolic and religious significance appropriate to pharaonic authority. The international implications of this morning routine extend far beyond Egypt's borders. Foreign diplomats and dignitaries who witness Cleopatra's appearance carry reports back to their home kingdoms, spreading tales of Egyptian luxury and sophistication that enhance the pharaoh's reputation for power and divine authority. These reports influence political calculations and military decisions throughout the ancient world. The economic systems required to support this level of luxury are staggering in their complexity and geographic scope. Trade networks spanning 3 continents are necessary to obtain the exotic materials and rare substances used in a single morning's preparation. Entire industries exist solely to serve the needs of royal grooming, from the pearl divers of the Red Sea to the gold miners of Nubia to the perfume makers of Arabia. But perhaps most remarkably, this elaborate morning routine represents just one day in a pattern that continues year after year throughout Cleopatra's reign. The accumulated cost and complexity of maintaining this level of daily luxury represents one of the greatest concentrations of wealth and resources in human history, a testament to the incredible productivity and organizational sophistication of ancient Egyptian civilization. The technological innovations required to support the morning routine push the boundaries of what's possible using ancient tools and techniques. The creation of gold leaf, thin enough for cosmetic application, requires metalworking skills that rival modern industrial processes. The extraction and purification of exotic oils and essences involves chemical processes that wouldn't be understood by European science for another millennium. The quality control standards applied to royal cosmetics and treatments exceed those used for the most precious temple offerings. Every ingredient must meet specifications so exact that entire batches are sometimes discarded if they fail to meet royal standards. The testing processes used to ensure safety and effectiveness involve techniques that combine empirical observation with religious divination. The environmental impact of supporting this morning routine affects ecosystems throughout the known world. The demand for exotic materials creates hunting and harvesting pressures that influence wildlife populations from the African highlands to the Indian Ocean. Entire species of plants and animals are managed specifically to provide materials for royal use. The social implications ripple through Egyptian society in complex ways. The employment provided by royal luxury supports not just the direct participants, but also extended networks of suppliers, transporters, and craftsmen. At the same time, the concentration of resources in royal hands creates economic inequalities that affect the daily lives of ordinary Egyptians. The religious significance of the morning routine extends beyond personal spiritual preparation to encompass the cosmic responsibility of pharaonic rule. Ancient Egyptians believed that the pharaoh's appearance and spiritual condition directly affected the stability of the natural world. Floods, harvests, and the movement of celestial bodies were all thought to be influenced by the pharaoh's proper performance of religious and ceremonial duties. The military implications are equally significant. Cleopatra's appearance serves as a form of psychological warfare, demonstrating Egyptian wealth and power to potential enemies while inspiring confidence and loyalty among Egyptian forces. The intimidation factor of royal appearance is carefully calculated to support diplomatic and military objectives. The cultural legacy of these morning routines influences art, literature, and fashion throughout the Mediterranean world and beyond. Descriptions of royal appearance inspire poets and artists for generations, while attempts to imitate royal fashion create demand for Egyptian goods throughout the ancient world. As the morning routine finally concludes and Cleopatra prepares to leave her private chambers, you witness the moment when 3 hours of preparation culminate in a public persona that will dominate the political and cultural landscape of the ancient world. The transformation from private individual to public icon represents one of the most sophisticated exercises in image creation and management in human history. The immediate practical effects of the morning routine extend throughout Cleopatra's day as the various treatments and preparations interact with her activities and environment. The cosmetics are formulated to maintain their appearance through hours of public ceremonies. The perfumes are designed to evolve and change as the day progresses, and the jewelry is balanced and secured to remain comfortable during long periods of formal activity. The documentation and record-keeping associated with the morning routine create archives that track the effectiveness of different treatments, the seasonal availability of exotic materials, and the evolution of royal fashion over time. These records represent some of the most detailed accounts of daily life in the ancient world, providing insights into Egyptian civilization that would otherwise be lost to history. The training required to participate in the morning routine represents a form of higher education that rivals the intellectual demands of any ancient institution. Master craftsmen spend decades learning the skills required to work with royal cosmetics, perfumes, and jewelry, developing expertise that encompasses chemistry, artistry, and religious knowledge. The international diplomatic implications of the morning routine influence relationships between Egypt and other ancient powers. The ability to maintain such elaborate daily luxury serves as proof of Egyptian strength and stability, affecting everything from trade negotiations to military alliances. Foreign rulers calculate their diplomatic strategies based partly on assessments of Egyptian wealth demonstrated through royal display. The seasonal variations in the morning routine reflect a sophisticated understanding of how environmental conditions affect cosmetic effectiveness and personal comfort. Different formulations are used during the flooding season versus the dry season, with adjustments made for temperature, humidity, and expected activities. The psychological impact on those who participate in or witness the morning routine creates loyalty and devotion that extends far beyond simple employment relationships. The privilege of participating in such elaborate ceremony creates bonds of personal dedication that strengthen the foundations of royal authority. The technological transfer effects of royal cosmetic and perfume industries influence civilian manufacturing throughout Egypt and the broader Mediterranean world. Techniques developed for royal use are adapted for commercial applications, spreading Egyptian technological innovations to other cultures and kingdoms. The waste products from the morning routine are themselves valuable enough to create secondary economies. Used cosmetics and partially depleted perfumes are recycled and distributed to lesser nobles and wealthy merchants, creating economic opportunities throughout Egyptian society. The medical knowledge gained from observing the effects of various treatments on royal skin and hair contributes to Egyptian advances in medicine and pharmacology. The royal body serves as a testing ground for new formulations and techniques that eventually benefit the broader population. The artistic inspiration provided by royal appearance influences the development of Egyptian art and architecture for generations. The color combinations, patterns, and decorative motifs used in royal cosmetics and jewelry appear in temple decorations, tomb paintings, and ceremonial objects throughout Egyptian civilization. The time management challenges of maintaining such elaborate daily routines require administrative skills that rival those needed for governing the kingdom itself. The coordination of materials, personnel, and schedules necessary to ensure smooth completion of the morning routine represents a masterpiece of organizational efficiency. As you observe the final moments of the 3-hour transformation, you become aware that you've witnessed something far more significant than an elaborate grooming routine. You've seen the daily recreation of one of history's most powerful political and cultural symbols, the physical embodiment of a civilization's highest aspirations and greatest achievements. The morning routine represents the intersection of art, science, religion, politics, and economics in ways that create something greater than the sum of its parts. It demonstrates how personal transformation can serve broader cultural and political purposes, how individual beauty can embody collective identity and aspiration. The incredible attention to detail in every aspect of the routine reflects a civilization that valued perfection and understood the power of symbolic presentation. No element is too small to merit careful consideration, no effect too subtle to be worth achieving through elaborate effort and expense. The integration of practical and spiritual elements throughout the routine demonstrates a worldview that doesn't separate the material and the divine, but rather sees them as interconnected aspects of a single reality. Beauty, power, and divine authority are not separate goals, but rather different manifestations of the same underlying truth. The international scope of the materials and techniques used in the routine demonstrates Egypt's position at the center of the ancient world's trade networks and cultural exchanges. The morning routine serves as a daily demonstration of Egypt's connections to civilizations and resources spanning 3 continents. The historical continuity represented by the routine connects Cleopatra with thousands of years of pharaonic tradition, while adapting ancient practices to contemporary circumstances. The morning routine serves as a living link between Egypt's glorious past and its uncertain future. As the 3-hour transformation finally concludes, you witness Cleopatra's emergence from her private chambers as a figure who transcends ordinary humanity through the application of extraordinary art, science, and cultural tradition. The morning routine has transformed not just her appearance, but her very essence, creating a presence that will dominate the political and cultural landscape of the ancient world. The ripple effects of this daily transformation extend far beyond the palace walls, influencing fashion, trade, diplomacy, and cultural development throughout the Mediterranean world and beyond. What began as a personal grooming routine has become a form of performance art that shapes the consciousness of an entire civilization. You find yourself settling deeper into comfort as the mesmerizing details of ancient luxury wash over you like warm honey, the intricate rituals and elaborate preparations creating a soothing rhythm that carries you gently toward the peaceful realm of sleep, where dreams of golden chambers and rose-scented waters await to embrace your resting mind. The morning sunlight streams through silk curtains as Cleopatra, now fully transformed into the divine pharaoh, prepares to face another day of ruling, one of history's greatest empires, her 3-hour metamorphosis complete, leaving behind a legacy of beauty and power that will echo through the ages, long after the last temple stones have crumbled into desert sand and the Nile has changed its course toward distant seas. Looking back on this incredible journey through time, you can almost smell the lingering frankincense and feel the coolness of marble floors beneath ancient feet. If you enjoyed this ride, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss what's coming next. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what surprised you most about Cleopatra's routine, or better yet, share what time it is where you're listening and how this ancient luxury compares to your own morning preparations. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive and your nights filled with wonder.